Money doesn't expose your income, it exposes your inner world. If you want to understand your finances, start by understanding your emotions. Money reflects what lies beneath the surface, our fears, our insecurities, and our deepest desires. Chapter 1. Money as an emotional mirror. How money reflects fears, insecurities, and desires. Money has always been presented as a neutral object: paper, numbers, balances, and transactions. Yet for most people, money is anything but neutral. It acts as a mirror, revealing parts of ourselves that we sometimes struggle to acknowledge. Every financial decision reflects an internal state, whether it is fear of the future, insecurity about our worth, or a deep desire for safety, recognition, or freedom. Understanding this emotional mirror is the first step toward transforming the way you relate to money. When you look closely at your financial habits, patterns emerge. The things you avoid, the purchases you justify, and the risks you refuse to take all carry emotional weight. For example, some people hold on to money tightly because they fear losing control. For them, saving is not simply a financial habit, it is a shield against uncertainty. Others spend quickly, not because they lack discipline, but because spending briefly fills an emotional gap, offering comfort or a sense of relief. In both cases, money becomes a reflection of internal needs rather than external logic. Insecurity also plays a powerful role. Many individuals use money to validate their worth, seeking approval, admiration, or a sense of belonging. They buy things not for their practical value, but for the emotional message those purchases send. I am enough, I am successful, or I am like everyone else. When self-esteem feels fragile, money often becomes the tool used to reinforce it. The challenge is that this kind of validation disappears quickly, leaving behind the same insecurity that prompted the behavior in the first place. Desire is another force that shapes our relationship with money. The desire for comfort, stability, recognition, or independence drives much of our financial behavior. But desire, when unexamined, can lead to choices that conflict with long-term goals. You may want to invest, yet desire immediate pleasure. You may want freedom, yet desire the illusion of status. This tension creates internal conflict, often leading to decisions driven by the emotion of the moment rather than the clarity of the future. Money, then, is not simply a resource. It is a reflection of who you are beneath the surface. It reveals your patterns of thinking, your assumptions about life, your relationship with risk, and your ability to trust yourself. When you examine your financial choices honestly, you begin to see the beliefs and emotions that have guided you for years, often without your awareness. This chapter invites you to look into that emotional mirror with compassion rather than judgment. Every person, regardless of income or background, carries emotional experiences that shape their financial behavior. By recognizing these internal forces, you gain the ability to respond to them with wisdom instead of impulse. You learn to distinguish between emotional reactions and intentional decisions. Money reflects fears, insecurities, and desires not to expose your weaknesses, but to illuminate your possibilities. When you become aware of what your financial choices reveal, you open the door to growth. You develop a deeper understanding of yourself, allowing you to build habits that align not only with your goals, but with the calm and clarity you seek. In this sense, money becomes more than a mirror. It becomes a guide. It helps you see where healing is needed, where discipline must be strengthened, and where confidence must be cultivated. And as your internal world changes, your financial world follows, revealing the profound truth that lasting wealth begins within. Why many financial decisions are not logical, but emotional. At first glance, money appears to belong to the world of logic, budgets, percentages, calculations, and plans. Yet in practice, most financial decisions are shaped not by numbers, but by the emotions that move silently beneath them. People do not avoid investing because the data is unclear. They avoid it because uncertainty triggers fear. They do not overspend because they lack awareness. They do so because spending temporarily soothes something within them. The real currency behind most financial choices is not logic, it is emotion. From a young age, individuals absorb emotional messages about money long before they understand its mechanics. Perhaps they witnessed conflict at home, or they saw scarcity, or they learned to associate wealth with security or approval. These early experiences settle into the subconscious, guiding future actions even when adults believe they are making rational decisions. A person may say, "I am just being careful," when in truth, they are protecting themselves from a fear that originated years before any financial responsibility existed. This emotional foundation explains why intelligent, capable people often behave inconsistently with their goals. For example, someone may fully understand the importance of saving for the long term, yet continue to prioritize short-term comfort because the emotional reward of immediate satisfaction outweighs the logical reward of future stability. Another person may desire financial freedom, yet resist investing because the idea of losing, even hypothetically, feels emotionally unbearable. The numbers may make sense, but the feelings do not, and feelings often win. Emotions also influence decisions through pressure and comparison. When individuals see others appearing successful, a subtle urgency emerges, an inner voice insisting they must match that image. This pressure rarely comes from genuine necessity. It arises from the emotional need to belong, to feel respected, or to avoid appearing behind. As a result, people make purchases that do not align with their values, take on commitments they do not truly want, or prioritize image over progress. The desire to be accepted is emotional, but its financial consequences are very real. Even caution can be emotionally driven. Some individuals avoid spending or investing not out of strategy, but out of fear. Fear of running out, fear of making a mistake, fear of disappointing others. Their restraint appears logical from the outside, yet internally, it is guided by anxiety rather than intention. Logic becomes the justification, not the origin. The mind creates reasonable explanations to mask deeper feelings, allowing emotional decisions to appear rational. Understanding this dynamic is not meant to diminish the importance of logic, but to highlight that logic alone cannot lead to consistent financial success. Emotional awareness is essential. When you recognize the feelings behind your decisions, you gain the ability to separate impulse from intention. You begin to pause before acting, question the origin of your urges, and choose based on long-term clarity rather than momentary discomfort or desire. Recognizing the emotional roots of financial behavior also brings compassion. Instead of criticizing yourself for inconsistency, you begin to understand that your actions make sense within the emotional framework you have carried for years. With this understanding, change becomes possible. You can build new patterns that align with your true goals, not with old fears or pressures that no longer serve you. Ultimately, many financial decisions are not logical because human beings are not purely logical. We are emotional by nature, shaped by experiences, memories, and desires. When you understand this truth, you stop expecting perfect rationality from yourself and start building systems that support your emotional reality. In doing so, you create space for wiser decisions, greater stability, and the kind of financial freedom that comes from knowing yourself as deeply as you know the numbers. Example: people who buy impulsively to feel control or boost their self-esteem. One of the clearest demonstrations of how emotions guide financial behavior can be seen in impulsive purchases. On the surface, an impulsive purchase looks like a simple reaction to desire, something attractive, convenient, or tempting. Yet beneath this moment lies a deeper emotional story. Many people buy impulsively not because they truly need the item, but because the act of purchasing provides a momentary sense of control, comfort, or self-worth. Imagine a person who feels overwhelmed by life's responsibilities. Their days are filled with uncertainty, pressure, or a sense of being unable to influence the things that matter most. In that emotional state, a purchase, especially an unplanned one, becomes a brief escape. Buying something new offers an instant feeling of agency. I choose this, I decide this, I can control this. The purchase is not about the object itself. It is about the emotional relief that follows. Another common pattern appears in individuals who struggle with self-esteem. When someone feels inadequate, unnoticed, or unappreciated, buying something can provide a temporary elevation of identity. The item becomes a symbol of worth, a way to feel capable, successful, or attractive, at least for a moment. This emotional boost, however, fades quickly, often leaving the person searching for the next purchase to recreate that feeling. The cycle continues because the underlying emotional need remains unmet. Impulse spending also increases when people face emotional turbulence. After an argument, a disappointment, or a stressful day, buying something can serve as a form of emotional comfort. It is a way of saying, "I deserve this," or "I need something to feel better." The purchase becomes a quiet, private reward. Yet once again, the relief is temporary. The emotional discomfort remains, often accompanied by guilt or frustration about the financial consequences. These patterns demonstrate the powerful role of emotion in financial behavior. Logic would suggest evaluating the price, considering long-term goals, or asking whether the item is truly necessary. But emotion rarely waits for logic. When someone feels vulnerable, the need for immediate relief overrides rational consideration. The purchase becomes a way to momentarily soothe discomfort, escape pressure, or strengthen a fragile sense of identity. Understanding this dynamic does not require judgment. Many people experience these patterns at some point in their lives. Impulsive spending is not a sign of irresponsibility. It is a sign of emotional imbalance. The purchase simply reveals what the person is trying to manage internally: stress, insecurity, loneliness, or the desire for validation. The key to transformation lies in awareness. When you recognize that an urge to buy may be an emotional response rather than a practical need, you create space to pause. This pause is powerful. It allows you to question the feeling behind the impulse. What am I trying to soothe? What emotion am I trying to escape? What do I truly need right now? Often, the real need is rest, reassurance, connection, or clarity, not the item in front of you. By understanding the emotional reasons behind impulsive spending, individuals gain the ability to break the cycle. They begin to find healthier ways to meet their emotional needs, reducing the reliance on purchases for temporary relief. Over time, this creates a more stable and intentional relationship with money, one that reflects strength rather than reaction, clarity rather than urgency. Impulse buying is not about the purchase itself. It is a window into the inner world of the person making it. When you learn to interpret what these moments reveal, you develop the emotional intelligence necessary to build lasting financial freedom. Money amplifies who you are, it doesn't transform you. Morgan Housel. There is a profound truth hidden within this simple statement. Money does not change people. It magnifies what already exists within them. It does not create new values, new fears, or new habits. Instead, it exposes them. When someone gains access to more resources, what becomes visible is not a new personality, but a clearer version of the one that has always been there. This is why understanding the emotional foundation behind your financial decisions is essential, because money will inevitably amplify whatever emotions guide your behavior. For individuals who are disciplined, thoughtful, and grounded, money reinforces those qualities. It gives them the ability to plan with purpose, invest with patience, and use their resources to create stability and opportunities for themselves and others. But for those who feel insecure, fearful, or impulsive, money often magnifies those emotional states as well. It can intensify anxiety, deepen the pressure to validate oneself, or widen the gap between intention and action. The problem is not the money. The problem is the emotional patterns that existed long before the money arrived. This idea becomes especially important when people focus on earning more as a solution to their internal struggles. They believe that a higher income will eliminate stress, remove uncertainty, or bring clarity. Yet if those emotions remain unresolved, increased wealth only makes the consequences more visible. A person who spends impulsively will spend more when they earn more. A person who avoids planning will avoid it even more fiercely when the stakes become higher. A person who equates worth with possessions will feel even greater pressure to maintain appearances as their income grows. Money has the power to enlarge habits, but not to rewrite them. This quote also invites a deeper reflection. If money amplifies who you are, then the most important investment you can make is in your own emotional foundation. Before seeking more wealth, it is essential to understand the beliefs, fears, and desires that guide your decisions. Without this internal clarity, financial growth can become overwhelming rather than empowering. But with emotional awareness, wealth becomes a tool for expansion instead of instability. It allows you to build a life aligned with your values rather than one controlled by hidden patterns. Think of money as a megaphone. It does not change the message, it increases the volume. If the message is rooted in fear, the fear becomes louder. If it is rooted in wisdom, the wisdom becomes more influential. This understanding helps people move away from the illusion that wealth alone creates freedom. True freedom arises from emotional maturity. It comes from knowing how to respond rather than react, how to choose with intention rather than impulse, and how to build a life guided by purpose rather than insecurity. Morgan Housel's quote serves as a reminder that financial success begins internally. Money can open doors, create options, and provide stability, but it cannot resolve emotional conflicts. It cannot replace confidence, heal insecurity, or erase fear. These are internal processes that determine whether money becomes a source of expansion or a source of struggle. When you strengthen your emotional relationship with money, you prepare yourself for the future you want to build. You become the kind of person who uses wealth with clarity, integrity, and purpose. And when money eventually amplifies who you are, what emerges is stability instead of chaos, confidence instead of pressure, and freedom instead of fear. Money amplifies who you are. It doesn't transform you. This is not just a quote. It is a call to develop the emotional foundation that will allow your financial life to expand in a healthy, intentional, and meaningful way. Reflection. What does your relationship with money say about you? Your relationship with money is one of the most revealing relationships in your life. It quietly reflects how you think, how you feel, and how you interpret the world around you. It shows the way you respond to uncertainty, how you handle pressure, what you fear losing, and what you believe you deserve. When you observe your financial behaviors with honesty, you begin to see yourself with greater clarity. Money becomes a window into your inner world. Ask yourself, how do I behave when I receive money? How do I react when I lose it? What emotions arise when I spend, save, or invest? Your answers to these questions tell a powerful story, one that is often more accurate than the identity you try to present. For example, if you cling to money tightly, that may reveal a deep need for safety or control. If you spend quickly, it may reflect a longing for comfort or the desire to escape discomfort. If you avoid financial planning, it may indicate fear of making mistakes or fear of confronting reality. Your financial patterns also reveal how you see yourself. Do you believe you are capable of creating wealth? Do you trust yourself with responsibility? Do you feel worthy of abundance, or do you silently resist it? These internal beliefs shape your decisions long before you act. Someone who feels unworthy may unconsciously sabotage opportunities, while someone who feels confident may approach money with openness and determination. Money does not judge. It simply reflects the truth you hold about yourself. This reflection extends beyond behavior and reaches into identity. Some people use money to define who they are, linking their self-worth to their financial status. Others see money as a tool, a means to create stability, freedom, or purpose. These perspectives lead to very different experiences. When identity depends on money, every fluctuation becomes emotional turbulence. But when identity is separate from money, finances become easier to manage with calm and clarity. Your relationship with money also reveals the stories you have inherited. Many of the beliefs you carry did not originate with you. They were shaped by family, culture, or past experiences. Perhaps you grew up hearing that money is scarce, or that wealth is dangerous, or that comfort is suspicious. These beliefs settle into your subconscious and guide your decisions without your awareness. Reflecting on your relationship with money allows you to identify which of these inherited stories continue to shape your life and which ones you are ready to release. This reflection is not meant to criticize, but to illuminate. Every person's financial behavior makes sense when viewed through the context of their emotional history. The goal is not perfection, it is awareness. When you understand the emotional roots of your habits, you gain the ability to choose differently. You begin to separate who you are from what you inherited, who you want to become from who you have been. So ask yourself gently, what does money reveal about my fears? What does it reveal about my desires? What does it show me about the way I see myself? These questions are not about judgment, they are about discovery. They invite you to look within, to understand your patterns and to transform them with intention. When you reflect deeply on your relationship with money, you uncover the emotional blueprint that has guided your financial decisions your entire life. And once that blueprint becomes visible, you gain the power to redesign it. You begin to build a relationship with money rooted in clarity, confidence, and purpose, a foundation strong enough to support your journey toward true freedom.
If you believe this chapter could help someone, feel free to share it. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. And if you enjoyed this audiobook, please like and subscribe. Your support truly helps us keep creating more content like this.